The reader.
You're preparing. All right. We are live. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. If you have not signed in, please do. It's in the back of the room. And if you speak at the microphone, please say and spell your name for the records. Is there any public comment not on the agenda under the jurisdiction of the commissioners?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, excuse me. My name is Angie Paulson. I am Broward County Clerk and Recorder and Elections Administrator. I just wanted to give you some election updates, and please feel free to ask me questions if you so choose. We have the school election coming up in May. That is May 5th. One thing I just would love the public to know, and if anybody asks you guys, please help spread the word. On April 6th is the close of regular registration. After April 6th, people have to come into our office in person to register. And because we have the school election and the primary election back to back, it is super important that people come in and get this done like now. If they're mailing in their registration, get it into us before April 6th. Otherwise, like I said, they have to come in person to register to vote. So voters don't know that. If they're mailing it in and all of a sudden I say, I can't register you to vote, I need you to come in after April 6th. So that is one key date. On April 17th, this is for the school election. April 17th, ballots will be mailed out. And as you know, the school election is an all mail out election. There are no polling places other than our courthouse. Those ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. on Election Day, May 5th. And then I just wanted to reiterate on the school election, we had 2 terms available for 3-year terms. Two spots available for 3-year terms. And there was 1 spot available for a 1-year term. Judy Gillespie is the only one that filed for the 1-year term, and so she is appointed by acclamation. For the 2-year terms, for the 3-year terms, there's 2 available. The first candidate is Jean Hodges. The next candidate is Jason Cool. And the third candidate is Chase Patrick G. Reagan. So 2 of those 3 will be selected. And I do want to be clear, and Commissioner Rickmeyer and I were talking about this yesterday, that it's the ballot will say vote for 2. You don't have to vote for 2. You can vote for 1, but you can't vote for 3 or your ballot won't count. So it's 2 positions available. So if anybody has questions, you can clarify or please send them to my way. Okay. Moving on to the primary election, which will be June 2nd. May 8th, absentee ballots will be sent out. That is a polling place election. I will be conducting an election judge training on April 17th, which is a Friday, from 3 to 6 p.m. in the community room at the school. There will be an ad in the paper this Friday, so you will probably start to see the people coming in for that. Just please send them my way.
Do you need more election judges?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Rickmeyer, right now, we actually have quite a few election judges, but I don't know who's all going to be able to commit.
Okay.
So we always want more election judges. Helps me shuffle, because we want both parties at each precinct. So to help make sure that that happens, the more election judges, the better. So yeah, if you would like to spread the word on that as well. I have all the information in my office. I can print it out. There are some flyers on the bulletin board in the courthouse, and then this will go out in the newspaper as well. So I also wanted to, I handed out a notice to the public that I will be publishing in the next few days. This is a notice of the county candidates that will be on the primary and general federal election ballot. And this can be confusing for some people. Not every race goes on the primary ballot. I kind of like to think of the primary ballot as the primer. The people who win on the primary then go on to the general ballot. So due to the number of candidates that we have on the primary ballot, every race except for the Commissioner District 1 race will move to the general. So this, I'm just going to read this out loud, this notice. Please be advised that the following candidates have officially filed to run for a county office. All required statements and reports are on file with my office, the Clerk and Recorder's office. Additionally, the following candidates as of today have satisfied the reporting requirements of Title 13, Chapter 37 MCA, which is for Commissioner of Political Practices. So what I'm saying is the candidates that I am about to list off have completed their paperwork with my office and also the Commissioner of Political Practices. Is Debbie Randolph, the incumbent, Commissioner District 1 for a 6-year term. She will be on the primary ballot. Audrey Welliser Martin, Commissioner District 1, 6-year term. And Tim Ravendall, Commissioner District 1, 6-year term. And then the following candidates have officially filed to run for county office and will be placed on the general election ballot. So these will not be on the primary, just so everybody's clear. Okay. Angie Paulson, Clerk and Recorder, Election Administrator, County Surveyor, 4-year term. And then for Sheriff Coroner, Luis Espinoza, 4-year term. For Sheriff Coroner, Mark W. Wood, 4-year term. For County Attorney, Kevin Bratcher. For Treasurer, County Superintendent of Schools, Michelle Beebe, 4-year term. For Treasurer, County Superintendent of Schools, Leona Nelson, 4-year term. For Justice of the Peace, Kirk Flynn, 4-year term. I will note that the uncontested races are Angie Paulson for Clerk and Recorder, Kevin Bratcher for County Attorney, and Kirk Flynn for Justice of the Peace. The contested races that will go on that general election ballot are the Sheriff Coroner, Luis Espinoza, Sheriff Coroner, Mark Wood, and additionally for Treasurer, County Superintendent, Michelle Beebe, Treasurer, County Superintendent, Leona Nelson. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me. And I think, I did want to just mention one more item in case, because I know some of the questions filter to the commissioners and other departments within the courthouse. I did want to note that there are petitions circulating around the whole state. Broward County, we receive the petitions in this county. Sometimes they sign the wrong county, but we process each signature that comes in for those petitions. So my staff will be going through those. Last presidential election, we had like 4 boxes. It is a heavy lift, a lot of petitions. So I don't know what this year is going to look like, but I just want you guys to be aware that there are 2 petitions. The process is they have to get approved. I have 2 that are approved. If people are wandering around the courthouse wondering, send them our way. Initiative 194 is one that is approved for signature gathering. And then the other petition is Constitutional Initiative 133. And I won't get into the details of either of those. They're extensive. So we did change laws, the election administrators, that those petitions now have to be dropped off in increments so that it's not as heavy of a lift for us. But the first group was due October 17th. The second group was due January 16th. And then our upcoming deadline is March 27th. And then the next one is April 24th, and the final is June 19th. So we'll probably see an influx of those, and we have a tight timeline to get those done and submitted. And so, Madam Chair, thank you. I apologize for the length of this, but I just wanted to communicate what's going on.
Angie, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Can you give us a short version of what those petitions are?
So, let's go with Initiative 194. Oh, I hope I brought it with me. Okay, this one is, I could read it out loud if you'd like. It's kind of confusing. It says, it's basically limits the powers of artificial persons contributing anything of value to candidate elections, supporting or opposing political parties, or supporting or opposing state or local ballot issues. So my understanding is, I believe this is a way to limit particular entities from giving to political parties and candidates. It's a way of tracking funding and limiting it. So it's I think there's going to be literature that's put out on this, so I would like to, hopefully simplify it because it is slightly confusing. I've read it several times. And for those of us who read MCA a lot, if it's confusing to us, I don't know, the public's going to have a hard time reading it too. And then, so this Constitutional Initiative 133, I did not bring this one with me. I apologize, Madam Chair. If you would like me to present this again next week, I would be happy to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And just some condensed little paragraph.
I would love to. And keep our voters informed because they are oftentimes very difficult to read.
Well, these initiatives are very confusing.
They are.
Or can be.
And, even on the ballot language, it doesn't have the full initiative, so we don't really know exactly what we're voting for, and it can be confusing, yes or no, or for or against. So,
thank you.
Thank you. And then, Madam Chair, I would ask that I could be excused. I have a phone call at 10:30, so if you have any questions for me, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Randolph, would you pass the Kleenex, please? Before I snip it off everybody's there.
Is there any more public comment? Items not on the agenda. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay. Any of you have anything?
I was going to say a little something about social media, everybody's favorite topic, unless anyone else has. Do you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. There has been a lot on social media. I understand that it's the fastest, easiest way for everybody to communicate. From our standpoint, we would love to be able to respond to all the different comments. Some are good, some are nasty, some are just downright nasty. We can't do that. That isn't our job. We're not policing public comment. What people want to say is their business. However, I would encourage, and this is for anyone listening as well, anyone who sees a social media post about something going on with the county or a policy or like the local government services, please reach out to us. Reach out to us, reach out to the treasurer, reach out to someone at the county who can give you correct information. Certain posts we'll try and respond to individually. We don't represent the county when we respond and we'll respond with factual information. Strangely enough, a lot of what you see on social media is not always correct. I do want to address the local government services letter involving the treasurer. As soon as we were made aware, as soon as we received that letter on the 15th of January, we had a press release in the paper about it in the next paper we were available to get it into, which was the next week. So we have been outright, we've been forthcoming, we have addressed it right away with the public. And I'm happy to say as of now, and I believe Melissa will also say this, 3 months have been balanced. So there is a meeting with local government services next week to discuss releasing withholding of funds. And as far as the discrepancy amount that is now consistently carried over, we are kind of putting a list together of how to address that with the public so people understand where that discrepancy and how that discrepancy happened. It's a combination of different little bookkeeping, I don't even want to say errors, just bookkeeping issues, and certain fees that were unseen, certain communications with the school, different things. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but please contact us directly.
Jesse, did you have anything?
No, I just reiterate that. I mean, because there's so much misinformation going around. So the best place to get it is directly from us, and we're happy to sit down and talk to anybody about anything that you have a question about. So
Absolutely.
our door is always open, phone calls, emails, whatever it is. So.
And I'm going to continue a little bit more on that, and then we'll be done. There, as Lindsay said, there was a meeting Monday that I will be attending. Mako Executive Director Eric Bryson and Nancy Everson and I will meet with those folks. So we hope for an outcome Monday. We'll keep you updated.
And Nancy Everson is what is her role? She's financial?
Governmental Financial Officer.
Yes. And so as in her role with Mako, she will come and help the counties with different issues financially, non-issues and issues. And she's been a huge help for our treasurer and just for the whole county.
I personally will not respond to any Facebook messages. You can reach me. That's just not how I want to be. Come talk to me. As they've said, I think it's pretty easy to get a hold of us. Couple things that I did see that I do just want to correct here in the meeting. Somebody put on there on social media, Mako is doing the audit. Mako's our association. They do not do audits. They have been helping us. Every county has to have an external auditor do their audit every single year. Mako does not do audits. They have provided resources to us, Nancy Everson being the main one. City water. City water is city, not county. I live in the city, so I know there's some issues going on and potentially issues going on. We can't help with that in any way. You call the city, 266-3911, and they'd be happy to help you. I looked up the number. It's on a little post-it note by my phone. And there's some confusion, and I completely understand this before I got into this crazy world. The finance office is very different than the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office is elected official, and that's Melissa Franks. The finance office is a department head, Debbie Kelly, and then Michelle Beebe. So very different roles. Yes, they work together, but there's been some comments on social media. Well, the commissioners are not overseeing or policing the treasurer's office. You're right. We work together, but she's an elected official. Just like we don't oversee the county attorney or Nick, the sheriff. There's a partnership there, but very little oversight that we have up there. That's all.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
When you say you're not responding to messages, you mean posts that other people
Right.
post, but you will respond to things that people reach
Yes.
out to you directly
Yes.
on your
I will not
Facebook page.
respond on social media. Happy to talk to people. Email, phone, at Bob's. Well, sometimes not at Bob's, but just not on social media. Then it just goes back and forth, in my opinion. It's just not me personally, I've made that decision. Any other public comment?
One other thing, not social media related. If you notice, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we got a new microphone at the podium. Please make sure that the last couple meetings, it's been kind of pointing away from people and it's been hard to hear on the recordings. So just make sure you're talking into the microphone. It is portable. That was the reason why we got it. So if you do walk over to the presentation or anything, feel free to take the microphone with you. But yeah, please just, so that our listening viewers can hear.
Good point.
Please talk into the microphone as close as you can.
Perfect. Okay. First item on the agenda, Trust Board. Request to withdraw $200,000 from the First Premier Trust investment account to transfer to the Trust Board county account. Are you doing that, Mr. Christofferson?
He is
Yes, you are now.
He is now. Congratulations.
Al Christofferson, CHRISTOPHERSEN. Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, I'll speak if you have any questions of the Trust Board. I'll try and answer those on behalf of the board.
Would you like the letter read into the record?
Sure.
Okay, I can go ahead and read it. This was from Steve McCullough. So, dear Broward County Commissioners, at the February 24th, 2026 Trust Board meeting, the board voted to approve 2 grants in the amount of $147,076.74. Therefore, the Broadwater County Trust Board members voted on that same day to transfer $200,000 from their Premier Trust Fund account to the Trust Board County account as soon as possible, thus ensuring they can meet any future requests for grants this year. The Trust Board requests the Broward County Commissioners make the request at their next meeting. Respectfully, Steve McCullough, who is the Trust Board Chairman.
The Trust Board has a threshold with First Premier. I used to remember that number. I don't anymore.
The minimum principal balance, the one that's in the law was about 2.5 million, and the original grant to the Trust Board was 3 million, but in the law they stated that $500,000 of that was to go to excavation and work on Broadwater Bay. So that was taken out. So we've always worked with the 2.5. However, we have over the past 5, 6, 7 years raised our perception of what that minimum is to account for inflation. And so we voted a couple of meetings ago to raise that to 3 million. So 3 million is the threshold that we look at now.
Oh, 3 million is?
with Premier.
Okay.
So at the last meeting, there was a discussion of we would like to, we need some available funding that doesn't take as long to get to. And so we asked that with the grants that we approved, we felt that we ought to pull $200,000 out of that Premier account, put it in the county-held account for the Trust Board, so that it was more available to us. They know that we voted to do the whatever was in the letter, 140-some thousand, and we know there's probably some pending ones coming this month. So we felt that way we had the flexibility to be more prudent in releasing funds.
Madam Chair, may I ask?
Of course.
Because if you don't know what the Trust Board is, you might be confused. And I think it's also a good resource for local groups, some which know about it, some which do not. Can you briefly summarize what the Trust Board does and
Sure.
how?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Rickmeyer, yes. The Broadwater County Trust Board is charged with funding recreation-oriented projects. And typically, traditionally, those are projects that deal with public access, public grounds, so like city, county. And they're not, and I think as we found out after the last meeting and the interpretation from the county attorney, they're not a filler for city or county government budget issues. And so we appreciated that feedback. And so if it's recreation oriented, if it's going to be a public facility, then I think Trust Board is somebody to come and talk to. We're glad to work on those things for the public.
And they do have a grant process and application.
Oh, yes, yes. We do have, you have to prepare a grant. It's been updated. The format's been updated several times as we've learned, as we've gone through these things over time. And so it's updated. It was last updated, I think, last fall. And current, and fill out a grant and come in and talk to present it to the Trust Board. We'll review it, discuss it. We have to have it 2 weeks ahead of our scheduled next meeting. That gives us time to do the due diligence review, call people, ask questions, all that kind of stuff before we have it come to the board in a presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
The application is on the Trust Board's website.
Yeah.
So I don't have that off the top of my head, but if you just
Through
Google.
the county website?
No,
Oh, is
the
that
Trust
separate?
Board has a
okay.
separate website.
Okay.
It's-
We should also put that on
we
the county
should-
one.
I was
It's
gonna say we
not
should
on the-
link.
Yeah.
It's on there.
It's on our county
is,
website
okay.
too.
Yeah.
I thought it
Yeah, the
used to
Trust
be.
Board's on there. You just go to
Click
the
it.
Trust Board and
Okay.
it'll be
Okay,
on there,
Yep.
that's how,
on that page.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
and the process is, if we agree to approve this transfer, a letter will need to come from the commission to First Premier Bank, and then they just transfer the money. It's been pretty quick, the transfer, usually within a week. So just so everybody understands the process. Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the request to withdraw $200,000 from the First Premier Trust Investment Account to the Trust Board County account.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second to approve the $200,000 transfer from the Trust Board's First Premier account to their county account. Any public comment? Any public comment? All those in favor of approving the transfer of $200,000 from First Premier to the Trust Board County account signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is Gravel Bar Consulting LLC contract for Megan Bullock, our county sanitarian. Her contract is, she's been with us 3 years, I think. Same contract, no difference in rate. We are very, very lucky to have her. We go to conferences, and so many counties share, or they have to contract with an engineering company, and it's just not the same. She is here on site most Mondays and Fridays, but she's reachable on the phone. She lives in Jeff County. And she is very well known, very well trained, has been doing this for a very, very long time. So this contract would be for 1 year, starting April 1st this year through March 31st next year. That's the exact same contract that we had last year.
I know her rate isn't changing. Do we know what her rate is by any chance?
I thought it was in here.
110.
I think it's
What's that?
Yeah, I think it's
Hourly rate of
110.
110.
Oh, good. I couldn't find it. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Section
Okay.
3.
I read it like 3 times right over it.
Mhm.
Okay. She does handle the DEQ,
Mhm.
all our DEQ, which has made the process go a lot faster for anybody applying.
And she also handles the food, the restaurant inspections. Do you want to, nonprofits doing something at the fair? She will work with you for that permit. Fall Fest. She is certainly an expert. Any questions, or is there a motion?
Move to approve the contract between Gravel Bar Consulting LLC and Broadwater County for readjustment from this day for 1 year.
April 1st.
For April, okay, thank you. For April 1st, 2026 for 1 year at the rate of $110 an hour.
I will second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve this contract. Is there any public opinion? Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, all those in favor of renewing the contract with Gravel Bar Consulting for 1 year signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Get that. We'll get it signed later. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we've talked about this for in several meetings. Discussion decision, the Silos building at corner of Beaver Drive and Silos Road. This has been a long time coming, and I'll just, some highlights of it are, if this moves forward, the road department could be storing machinery out there, the weed department, fire, search and rescue. There's enough, there's a little more than 7 acres out there. There's enough room to store, and I know I've said this before, but my long-term goal is to combine 2 of those storage units for meeting space. Place people can vote, and have community meetings out there. We can have commission meetings out there. The 4-H group could have meetings out there. If solid waste wants to have a meeting out there, it's just more locations. This room can get tough at times to find a spot to have a meeting.
Voting, right?
Voting, I said that, yep.
God,
So
I'm just behind. Sorry.
no, voting, I just, if you've ever been to a meeting in the Winston Fire Hall, it's not ideal, but it's really the only place out there to have one. So we've been out there a lot, been out there with Great West Engineering, been out there with Slate Architect, just to see if the building is good bones. And it is. For all the people out there renting spaces now, nothing's going to happen immediately. If this passes, the closing date will be May 12th. We will work with we're not going to kick anybody out before the boating season. We may be asking people to move. So it's going to be quite a while before any remodeling, any of that happens. But if we can get maybe some of the weed department machinery stored out there this summer, that'd be great. Maybe TJ's snowplows, whatever. And there are some empty spots now, but there's several that have half, and that's all they're renting, half of one of the long spots. So we may ask them to move. The citizens out there have been very supportive. We've got a lot over the last few months, a lot of support letters. It makes sense to have search and rescue close to the lake. That's just a no-brainer. The funds from this came from ARPA money, going back a couple years now, that we had to say what we were going to do with it, and we want an emergency rescue center. So it'll be a while before you see any movement to any remodeling, because we will have to go through that whole process, which is a very long process of itself. Purchase price is $1,694,000. And again, those funds could not be used for anything else other than this. We can't turn that over to solid waste. It had restrictions on it. Any questions?
What was the acreage of the property?
It's just a little over 7.
So there's a lot of potential.
There's a lot of potential. And initially, we did not want all 7. But that's the way it was going to be sold. So it does give us more potential out there.
I think the fact that it can be used so multi-purposely is really important. Search and rescue, again, most of search and rescue in the summer. I'm generalizing, but it's definitely on the lake is the area of primary calls. Having that access, not having to drive into town, get a boat, hook it up, come back out, that can be really interesting. I like that it has options for the other departments too, with especially weed and road. Covering some of our equipment is a big deal.
And there's an apartment there now. Whenever she leaves, certainly search and rescue. There's a kitchen in there. They can have meetings. There's a shower. I think there's 2 bedrooms upstairs. So all kinds of options. I'm so glad some residents called me several months ago and told me about this. So it's never been on the market. And the owners have been very, very patient. And they have learned how slow government is. First-hand experience.
Oh boy.
So,
And once again, ARPA funding.
is there a
being used
motion?
as-
I would move to approve the Silos building at 111 Beaver Drive and 65 Silos Road for $1,694,000 with a closing date of May 12th, 2026.
I will second that.
Any public comment? Any public comment online?
Chairman Randolph and Commissioners, Cindy Christopherson, CHRISTOPHERSEN. I just kind of have a general question. Who will manage that within the county departments and how will that be handled?
Excuse me, Bill Malone, our maintenance guy, has been out there with me several times. Certainly when we get to the point of remodeling and building and all of that, that will go under his jurisdiction. When we get to the point of having meetings out there, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I want to thank Commissioner Randolph for working on this. You took the helm and ran with it, and it's been a big process. So thank you for getting that done.
You're
I think it'll
welcome.
be a big
I
improvement.
hope we can approve this today. Take a little break, and then we'll start talking to architects and contractors. But thank you. I appreciate that. There's a motion and a second to approve what we're calling the Silos building for $1,695,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Yay! Next item on the agenda is a letter of support for BCDC Trail Vision Plan. Al Christopherson.
Al Christopherson, CHRISTOPHERSEN. Is that right?
Close enough.
Yeah. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity for the Broadwater County Development Corporation's Trails Committee to get you up to speed on what's going on with the plan and where we're headed with things. Specifically, we would like to get, when we're done, what I call a general letter of support, that you support the vision plan and where we're headed with things, that so that we can use that kind of support as we're talking to people, that the county is behind us. The county has not put any funding into what we've done, and it is a Trails Committee under the BCDC. So even though you'll see things like Broadwater County Trails, we understand that it's not the county's trail plan. And so with that, thank you for having us. And a real short history of the Trails plan. How we started was a community workshop back in 22, I think, and then 23, they actually had another meeting. That's where the committees came out of that. And our Trails Committee evolved from that one. We had put together a timeline for it and what we were going to do. The Trails Committee got together. We drew all the routes based on everybody's knowledge, people they talked to, everything we saw. We made some decisions about where we weren't going to go. We did not deal with trying to replan trail plans on public land with the Forest Service and the BLM. They have their trail plans, and if they open those back up, I'm sure there would be some discussion about maybe some additions or alternatives, but we didn't want to get bogged down in that arena. We finalized the plan through BCDC in, I think it was November, December, they had the meeting votes. And so when that was accomplished, we pivoted with the committee and said, okay, we're done planning. We're done with that laborious process. And but we did have some, public meetings, and we did a lot of talking with people. So and we've been before the commissioners here and the city council. So we wanted to move on. So with that, we pivoted and started talking about, okay, let's get busy. Let's build some trails. Let's do some actual work. And so with that, the first 2 meetings that we've had since then, we've had about 30 people at those meetings. And so we continue to reach out, ask people to, if you're interested in trails, walking, biking, equestrian, and or paddling, come to the meetings and help us create this plan that we've put together. It's a flexible plan, so if we want to add something to it, we can add something to it. We don't have to go through a big formal process again. So, part of our focus is we've established and are establishing some subcommittees that we want to have focus on doing certain things. One of those is a volunteer committee. Keep track of the volunteers and have them ready to go do work as we find work for them to do. One is a grant writing committee, and they have been very busy already. I'll get into that in a minute. We're looking at a public relations, social media committee that does our PR and gets the word out, articles, those kind of things. And a fundraising committee. And so we want to get to looking at fundraising, because that's one of the things we have to do when we apply for grants is have to have some money to help pay for those. So I'll jump into some things that have been already accomplished. We have prepared we hired a firm, an engineering firm, that prepared a grant through the Trail Stewardship Program that's administered by Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, state of Montana. And that request went in for about $75,000 grant. Some of that is the match we had to put in. And Rotary, the local Rotary, came up with $5,000 to help us with the match that we had to have. This was one of the learning points that we had, was that when that closing date on that grant was visible, we were already inside the 2-week window that we could not get to the trust board. So we had to search, and Rotary was very helpful and very gracious in providing that. So that grant is in. We're just waiting to hear how their evaluation process goes. Should we be awarded that grant, it'll probably be in June or early July. I don't know if we'll get any work done this year, but it's a resurfacing of the asphalt trail that goes from the city limits out to Indian Road campground day use area. So that trail, if you've been on it, has got a lot of grass and surface is starting to rough up. So it'll be a resurfacing of that trail, cleaning the grass out, sealing the cracks, some soft spots, that kind of thing. So that's what that is. Probably the most heavily used walking trail around, and it directly ties into the city. Second grant is been submitted, and that's an AARP grant. It's called a micro grant. They award $2,500, and it's set up to do walking audits of trails and pathways, and so that'll focus on Townsend and those trails in close to the trail lines that we've got identified. And so we'll wait and see where that one is. That one has to be, if they award it by like June, it has to be spent and done by December. So that's a quick one, but that's why they're small and micro grants. And it would be a really good one to help get some information about who walks where and what are the impediments and issues with walking through the area. So that's a good one. The other one that came obvious to us, just come out of here. I'm going to use this. Okay, as I walk over here to our map. This is the trail map of the entire county. Okay. And so these are all trail routes. Okay, a lot of them are county roads, some are state highways, some are federal highways. One of the things you know when you start projects like this is you don't know what you don't know. And even in the last few days, I learned some more things that I didn't know. But one of the things we didn't know was that there was an established trail, river trail, from the Headwater State Park at Three Forks down to Toston Dam. It's called the Missouri River Paddlers Trail. And Gallup Valley Land Trust worked with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and they got that set up. We said, well, that's nice, but you can't paddle through the dam, so you got to get out and walk around. And they didn't go beyond the dam. So we picked it up, said, okay, we're going to create a water trail from the dam to Indian Road Campground out here. And so that's what this blue line is. It's the river trail. What I've learned since then is this line actually goes clear to Twin Bridges on the Jefferson River. So there's a Jefferson River's Paddlers Trail. So that one is in place. The only thing we have to do is put up some portal signs at the access points, so it's right below the dam, at Toston Bridge, at Yorks Island, and at Indian Road Campground out here. So we're going to put portal signs, and that's part of a grant request that the Trails Committee is forwarding to be evaluated. But so there are things being accomplished, and the idea with that is that maybe sometime this summer we'll have a ribbon cutting up at the dam for that access site, designate the river. The name that the committee has come up with is to call it the Missouri River Paddlers Trail, which is still part of this whole Missouri River Trail system, but to designate it as the BC 43, Broadwater County, County 43. So that's our trail. Okay. And so we'd like to, have a ribbon cutting and probably a ceremonial float and pick up garbage. BLM has already offered to give us all the trash bags we want. So that's cool. So those are the ones that are ongoing right now that we're actively working on. We've got grants in. We're just waiting to see on those. And we've had to come up with some match funding. And so we'll continue to pursue those. The next proposals we got coming is a feasibility study that we would hope that we might be able to have some discussion about a community block grant. I think the county or the city have to put those in. I don't know if the nonprofit does. But anyway, that would cover, we would look at the area downstream from the river bridge out here, Townsend, to try and find a site that an engineering firm thinks would be a good site, a feasible site, to put a pedestrian bridge across the Missouri. And we've got some interest in some engineers that want to do a certain kind of design, and so we'll see where it goes. But along with that, then, we would look at the easement requirements on Centerville And if the bridge goes over the river, then we have to have an easement coming up the other side to get us back to the highway. So that's kind of a package deal. Accessing the county parkland at Centerville, then getting down to Canton Lane, which is going out to the other county parklands. So we need to know some answers to that before we can go very far. So we're looking to, we've got a grant proposal to the trust board to do the pre-engineering and grant writing for those kinds of projects. They're big. So we gotta be out front in those. And then there's some matching fund requirements, and that's something we want the fundraising to do so that the people in the county that provide funding on the Trails program have a way to be engaged in what's going on with the grants and the projects. Those are the big ones. The other big one is looking at Centerville Park, and I know the Park and Recs Board is actively looking at that, trying to line out what needs to come out of that, or go into that one, I guess. Some of the grant stuff allow for trailhead construction, so maybe a parking lot, trailhead at the park, and the fitness trail inside the park. But they're working on the details of that. The other big one is the trail to the fairgrounds. That was identified in the fairgrounds master plan, and it's certainly been a big one, a lot of discussion about it. There's a lot of interest in that. And so that's going to be a separate grant proposal. It goes to the Transportation Alternatives program run by the state that has talking to some of the program people, talking about trying to build about a mile of asphalt hard surface trail, because that's what they require under those federal grants. It could be a 7-figure number. So that has a huge match then, and so we're hoping that discussions with the trust board or other people might help come up with that. We have to have those letters of commitment for these grants when they're submitted. We don't have to have the money, just the letter of commitment. So if it's awarded, then we have to go put that money in the kitty. So let's see, Centerville fairgrounds. Okay. The only other one that's there's two more that have had discussion, and that's with the Silos Road, the expansion of that right of way to get the trail from the recreation area up to the highway. But we're not moving on that one until such time as the right of way is secured, because we're way too premature to talk about it until that happens. The other is that should one of these other ones slip along the way, we can look at the trail that goes along 287 from the north side of the bridge out to Cottonwood. Cottonwood is the point where the highway department is going to do their 5-lane reconstruction, and we don't want to go past that, and who knows when it'll ever do the bridge and the piece this way, so we need to get that trail fixed and resurfaced. So that might be a proposal this fall. The transportation alternatives usually opens in either late December or 1st of January. So we're trying to stage ourselves to look ahead so that we don't get caught behind if you wait for them to open, there isn't time to do all the engineering work and that kind of thing. So we're trying to get ahead. So the transportation alternatives, the Recreation Trails Program grant, that's the one that probably would deal with Centerville, the trailheads and that kind of thing. And then the Trail Stewardship Program, probably the one that could deal with either Centerville, Canton, any of those that kind of stand alone, or the one on the other side of the bridge. And then there's the Montana Fish and Wildlife Conservation Trust. We're looking at the study feasibility one, because we're dealing with easements and they deal with easements and that kind of thing. So we're hoping maybe we might be able to get lucky with that one. And then these things change every week. Every week there's emails coming out, and, you know, here's a new grant. And we were all anxious, really jumping on these things. I mean, the resurfacing one about wore us out. There's a lot of work behind these grants, and when you're up against these federal funded grants where everybody is looking at them, the competition is really tough. You know, I think some of us, including me, once thought that, well, shoot, we can write these things. No, you got to have all the engineering behind it. You got to have all the things that, if you're dealing with state right of way or federal highway, you got to have all the permits and all that. It's like, ooh, that's why we went to a firm and said, do it. That's what they do. So, fundraising, we're starting to have discussions about some fundraising events, some runs, walks, paddle races. I mean, it's pretty interesting to listen to the discussion going on in these committee meetings now. The excitement about looking down the road at some things that are there. The big one is that this is the 250th anniversary year of this country, and we think it would be awesome to have a couple of events that commemorate those, that tie into that history and stuff. So with that, anything on this, Carol? All right. Again, we're asking for a general, I guess call it a general letter of support. You support the Trails Vision Plan and the implementation of that plan, and there will be specific grants that we may have to come back to you and ask you for a specific letter for a grant. Some of them are very specific about the kind of wording that you have to have in those letters. But we also like to know we have the support, so as we're out talking to people, it's like, look, we talked to the county, they're behind us. We think the Park and Recs Board is a tremendous partner, and we've worked very hard together to stay together on all these things. And if there's some opportunities to come up with some funding and match and stuff through them, we appreciate that. So with that, I'll be quiet. Answer any questions you have or comments.
I have a couple questions and comments. I've gone to a couple of the Trails meetings, and there's another one this Thursday.
Yes.
At the lodge, and it's open to anybody. You don't have to be on the board or in the group. Need to get the word out. We need more people to attend those. So this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the lodge. On the trail that you're talking about, the new asphalt, that sounds great to do that. Who then is going to do the maintenance on it? Is it kind of a adopt-a trail kind of program, or?
That's one of there's two things that we're looking at trying to develop. One is the adopted trail, the partnerships, the sponsors, those kind of things that we can build a long-term kind of endowment. This is the thing we've talked about, is long-term endowment. So people can put money into this endowment that the interest then is used to do the work. So the annual maintenance would come from that. Until such time as that gets developed, we have to do any annual development or any annual maintenance through the committee, and that's why we've got a volunteer committee.
Anybody else have questions or comments?
I have a question.
Just real quick with the trails that are paved, they're still for pedestrian, just walking, correct? They're not meant for like ATVs, those types of things.
All the trails, yes, Commissioner Swenson, all the trails on here that we've identified, if they ever transition from a county road to a trail system, would be a pedestrian, bicycle, equestrian type trail. The trail out to the fairgrounds very specifically includes equestrian, because it'll probably be a paved trail, and so you want horses on the gravel, so we'd have a gravel shoulder.
Okay.
But yeah, they're non-motorized. That was one of the things we decided to not participate with, just because it gets complex.
Sure.
As soon as you start talking motorized. And then the design of these trails changes substantially. So as long as it's pedestrian and bicycles, horses, the river, of course, and you can do any of those if you can walk on water or whatever.
I was curious about the, well, first, let me back up. Thank you, because you guys have put in a ton of time. I know Parks and Rec has worked with you. There's a lot moving, and our community needs some connectivity. I realize that we are surrounded by a lot of public land, but your average person on the average day can't get out to the public land. It will be safer for everyone, and it's healthier for everybody, young and at all ages. Let's just put it that way. Really appreciate the time you guys have committed to this. That said, it is, I want to clarify, it's all of this money that's being raised, anything that's done, it's being held through BCDC, since they're a nonprofit.
Nonprofit, yes.
Right, okay. It's not just a group out on its own.
No.
I know a question with community groups is who's going to pick up and run with it, and that's not something you can necessarily answer at this time. But I think the more structured it is, the higher the likelihood people will continue working toward that, and you can see that with Prickly Pear Land Trust, Gallatin Valley Land Trust, places like that. I think with longevity, we would ask that as things develop or change to continue to update the commission on what is going on, and if we need to change our letter of support in some way to reflect that, that would be good.
Okay.
Regular communication with what's going on, just so we know that everything we're supporting is valid.
Okay, Madam Chair, Commissioner Rickmeyer, yes. That's why, one of the subcommittees we're trying to build, get people to have interest in public relations, letter writing, all that kind of stuff. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is build that long-term public understanding of what we're about, what we do, and how we do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
A couple more questions from me. I know in some of those meetings that I've attended, they talked about the city sidewalks. Is there where is that on the priority list? Or is it on the priority list?
It's on our list. So talk just briefly about priorities. The bridge is the number one priority this committee has talked about since day one. That until we get a safe pedestrian crossing of the river to connect everything north of the river to everything south of the river, or east and west, however you want to look at it, it's a fractured system, and we know that. And everybody we've talked to is like, well, we got to do that. And we went to the state multiple times, and you guys went to the state on our behalf, and we appreciated that, to try and get a cantilever bridge on, or pedestrian bridge off of the main highway bridge. And they won't go there, and I understand why. So the answer has always been, you got to go on your own. You got to find a pedestrian bridge. So that's why we're asking for this study out there. And we do have a person on our committee who is an engineer and has an interest in pedestrian bridges and has worked on some and given us some new information that we didn't have when we started. So we have a different estimate on what costs might be and how feasible they are for a pedestrian type bridge. Would not support ATVs and that kind of thing. I mean, that's why we have the bridge, I guess. But yeah, that would be, so the city sidewalks is, I think it's like third or fourth on our total list. If you look at this map, don't take too much time here, but if you look at the city down here, here's the routes we put in the city that trying to address the things of like safe routes to schools, routes that get people to the businesses, the government offices, the churches, grocery stores, those kind of things. That's what this system does. It boxes the town in, ties to Jack Farm Road out here going out, and this is Canton going that way. The bridge is over here. So this, see, we showed this trail as part of this is the asphalt trail, by the way, as part of the city system, because it is pretty integral. And then clear out towards Rocky Mountain Supply. So it's, I guess it's 6th on the list. But the 6th on the list, the numbers we put in were just so we could track. They aren't necessarily a priority number. We said in the plan that priorities will be based on people's interests and funding through grants. So the sidewalk system in Townsend is one that fits the Transportation Alternatives Program. And they have for underserved rural counties like Broadwater, including the town of Townsend, they have a rebate on their match money. They require like a 13% match. So if it's $1 million trail to the fairgrounds or $1 million sidewalk system in town, you could have a pretty substantial match. But they give $5,000 back for the writing of the grants. So if a grant costs us $8,000, we get $5,000. Whoever writes that, then funds that, gets that money back and can put it back into match money or whatever. So yeah, it's in the plan. It's addressed. There has to be an interest in moving that forward. And a lot of those in the underserved rural counties, they don't require the match. They'll waive it. So that's, and the firm we've been working with so far has been very successful with transportation alternative grants. Town of Columbus is in their 2nd phase of a major trail program over there. The town of Cascade is in like their 4th phase of a major, and it's sidewalks and curbs, that's what it is. So they're out there, and we'd be glad to help wherever the interest is.
I don't have any more questions.
I don't
either.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve writing a letter of support for the BCDC Trail Vision Plan.
I will second that.
There's a motion and a second to write a letter of support for the Trails Plan. Is there any public comment? Any comments online? No. Any comments? All those in favor of writing a letter of support for BCDC Trail Vision Plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
be
you.
back.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is Nicole Brown, Community Development and Planning Director, Broadwater County exemption application amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director and Planner, here as part of a continuing discussion on the subdivision exemption process and subdivision exemption application. We've been discussing this regularly for a few weeks now at the commission level. I have worked individually with each of you just to go over this document and answer any questions you may have. I have nothing new to present necessarily other than upon the continuation of last week's meeting, there were some items that you commissioners had asked that I present on the subdivision exemption form as amendments. Those amendments have been made and posted online. I believe they were posted on last Thursday, so the day following the commission meeting, so the public has had ample time to review this. But I will just go over those proposed amendments to the form. The first one being item 1D, adding a line item there for the applicant to include their occupation. And that's on page 1. And then on page 3, under acknowledgements, a statement that reads, if the property is encumbered by a lien, it is the sole duty and responsibility of the landowner to notify their lending institution. I do want to note one other amendment was made to this form that this is my proposal. This was not at the request of the commission after the last meeting. Again, it was posted on Thursday. But to change the name of this form to the subdivision exemption application, previously it stated form, but after conferring with Commissioner Swenson, we both decided that application is more prudent because you are applying for an exemption. So that change has been made, or proposed to be made, excuse me. So those 3 items, they are highlighted in pink on any paper copies you have, as well as the version online. No amendments to the subdivision exemption process.
Any comments, suggestions, questions?
I have a couple. Do you have clean copies by any chance? Thank you. That will be so very helpful. Of the old, current,
Of
the
the existing,
used
yep, absolutely.
application.
May I pass these out, Madam
Oh,
Chair?
sorry.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, you may.
You have authority to.
No.
No, you may not. Thank you.
I'll leave one at the podium for the public if anyone is making comments and wishes to look at that. So what I just distributed to the commissioners was the existing subdivision exemption claim application. This is the form that or the application, excuse me, that we're currently using.
Okay, I'm just marking these so I can see them clearly. In going through this last week, a couple things caught my attention. I appreciate how much we're simplifying things. I think a lot of stuff we're taking out from the current application that we're using is because it doesn't have an effect on our decision that we can make. A lot of unnecessary or even redundant information, like we discussed the mortgage exemption and some of the bullet points that were under the mortgage exemption and why those are not needed in the application. In looking through this, I did pull a couple things that I believe should go under the existing parcel information on the new proposed application. If you turn to page 5, and these are obviously up for discussion, I believe these should be included because I think the information is good in the review process. It gives us just enough information if we have a question or want to look into something more, it brings that to our attention. I believe on page 5, G and H, under 5, supplemental questions. And that continues to the next page. I'll list those. So there's G, H, and then on page 6 is K, L, and N. And I believe those should be included under existing parcel information.
K, L, N.
N is in November. So G on page 5 is how long have you owned or had an interest in this parcel? I believe this is pertinent as we went through the family transfer last week. Knowing that helps with a timeline. It gives us a little bit more information. H was another family member's name previously on the deed to this parcel. And then we ask about it being removed. Again, probably it helps us investigate further if we need to. And it's an easy thing to have on there. On page 6, under K says, please describe any previous family transfers in which you and the intended recipients have been involved. Again, just some information for us. L was the parcel created or affected by a previous exemption. N, does this proposed family transfer exemption create more than one remaining parcel of less than 160 acres? And And that's those five points I believe should be included under the existing parcel or somewhere in the application.
And Commissioner Rickmeyer, your goal in this is just to get more information
Correct.
about the property.
Correct. It's easy to, if it's not needed, it's not needed, but it's also a reminder to us. We all don't look at this all the time. I know Jesse has a more trained eye for it, but we don't look at these all the time, and it helps to say, oh yeah, now there's a timeline. Like in the family transfer last week, we have a timeline of when those deeds, when the property was purchased, what quitclaim deeds were on there, and the time frame mattered. That mattered to us. It was pertinent in our decision.
Director Brown, may I ask you your thoughts on that?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is my first time considering these amendments. I really have no thoughts on it, positive or negative. It doesn't hurt to ask the questions. It could assist in my review of the exemption when I'm preparing the staff report for you commissioners to make your decision. Because currently there is not much information on the proposed application. And some of that information is, I don't want to say inferred by me, but is investigated by me and could then be added to the staff report. And when I say further investigated by me, anytime there's a family transfer exemption, I do go down to the clerk and recorder's office to determine if an exemption has occurred between those family members previously. And when I say that, it can go, say, from spouse to spouse, from husband to wife, but you can only do it once per lifetime per county. You can't. The wife could then give to the husband. Anyway, so there is some research that's involved in these exemptions when they are presented to me that I perform independently outside of information that's provided on the application form, but it would make my job easier. I mean, I would still investigate, even if the responses, say yes or no. I still do my due diligence to go and research that.
Verify.
Yeah. So I could see where we could add these supplemental questions, maybe at the end, well, not at the end of page 2, but at the top of page 3, and make a new item 5, supplemental questions, whereby then our proposed number 5 and number 6 would just bounce down to number 6 and number 7. Because these questions, if I may have a follow-up question for you, Commissioner Rickmeyer, these would continue to be questions for all exemptions. We're not talking just family transfers or boundary locations. As it is on our application form, these supplemental questions are for all proposed exemptions. Okay.
It doesn't hurt to have them.
No.
It's just simply information, and obviously there are others that we've talked about that don't need to be in there. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen organically. It doesn't hurt to have this information. I find it helpful when I'm reviewing these staff reports. It's like a flag to me to ask a question about this item, or maybe, hey, have we looked into this? Due diligence.
Director Brown, what about if we put these, I agree, it's just more information, and more information is good. What about if we put these 5 items under number 3, existing parcels? Because they're still talking about, they all refer back to the existing parcels. Or parcel.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may respond, it's certainly, I think the location.
It just flows.
Put it in either
What's
location.
there
Yep.
now, and adding some more questions about the existing parcel was my thought. Did you have any others?
That was it. That was it. I appreciate the other amendments we made or suggested. Yeah, that was it.
Commissioner Swenson, do you
yeah.
have anything?
So N is already in the regs. Does the proposed family transfer exemption create more than one remaining parcel of less than 160 acres? That is one of the criteria for review that's going to be in the subdivision regulations.
Okay.
And by definition, if it does, it is evasion. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have it on there. I just don't know if it's necessary. Was the parcel created or affected by a previous exemption? I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I understand where you're going. It's not, if it was or wasn't created by an exemption, number one, we are already asking how and when was the parcel created. So that's going to tell you if it is created by an exemption. Nothing stops you from putting an exemption on an exemption. So
True.
again, I mean, it's just information. I know that, and I just.
No, don't,
I know.
these are just things I
Yeah.
flagged. So if
Yeah,
you,
no.
how and when was the parcel created? And, okay, so, previous exemption. So that would be answered in E.
That should be answered in
Okay,
E.
so
yeah.
that would be answered in E. Okay. I got you there.
Doesn't hurt to ask if they've been involved with other family transfers. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
just more information. Should help Nicole's job be a little easier. We still have to verify it because people don't always remember or don't know or
Right.
whatever. So
I do like the deed information. I think that's important. Again, I refer back to last week and what we looked through in timelines. It is relevant. It helps to have that information.
I don't see any harm in adding these things, even though they are elsewhere.
Some are. Like that one is.
Right.
He has a good point on that one.
Right.
That one is. So G, H, K, and N, or K, sorry, G, H, and K.
So Commissioner Whitmire, those are the ones you would like to see added to the form?
Yeah, let's do
of
G, H,
application.
and K. I think Commissioner Swenson has a good point that
Mhm.
N is in the subdivision regs, and then K, or excuse me, L would have been redundant.
Director Brown, your thoughts?
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to comment on this. Yeah, I agree with that. My only question then would be, would you prefer it to, as a board, be item number 4, so to become the new item number 4?
I think it can just be additional, I would say just additional letters, as you had mentioned.
Under
Debbie.
number 3?
Yeah.
Under number 3,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think it,
Yeah.
it seems to fit in there.
Okay.
So you'd have a
G and H definitely do.
G, H, okay. K, I guess, is that what you're saying, Jesse? K doesn't really fit. You could
K
do
doesn't really fit underneath the existing parcel.
So K could be its own number 4.
That's true.
We could list K underneath the family transfer because that's the only one that would really be affecting it anyways.
Oh, type of exemption?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because that's the only one stopping. You can't give, like, I can't give my wife more than one piece of land in
Yeah.
my lifetime.
Okay.
If I want to do a boundary location, that whether or not we've done a family transfer has no bearing on that.
okay.
So you're saying put K
Underneath the family transfer.
on number page 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. Any other edits, changes from you guys?
That was all I had.
Madam Chair, I do have one.
I have one too.
Okay,
Yep.
they may be the same.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Just for clear, I mean, K is kind of addressed in the family transfer affidavit from the Attorney General. Item 7 is I declare that the recipient has never received another parcel through family transfer by me in this county.
I'm sorry, where are you at?
Where you
Number
at?
7 on the family transfer affidavit by the Attorney General.
Oh, on the affidavit.
It says, I declare, so this is what they have to sign, notarize. I declare that the recipient has never received another parcel through family transfer by me in this county. Again, it doesn't necessarily hurt to have it on there, but they are already signing, notarizing.
They are. It would be helpful. It would be helpful for me.
I have
personally.
no issue with them signing it again, or having it on there again.
No.
I don't want to have too many of the same, but.
No, not at all. It doesn't need to be overly redundant, but it just helps when you're looking at it because you might not catch it in the affidavit.
And Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
interject here? And just to clarify, similar question, but it is a different question because it's this letter K is saying, please describe any previous family transfers. Whereas the affidavit is saying, have you ever gifted to this specific person before? So say that your request is to gift to your spouse. That's the request being put forward to the commission. But maybe they had done a previous transfer to their children. So that's where I would see letter K would be involved because it's any previous family transfers in which you were involved. So that's where you would disclose, yes, I have done a family transfer and it went to my children. So similar question, but potentially different response.
Correct.
I'm with you on that.
It would be helpful.
My edit, or my addition, I guess, would be, I'm trying to find it. The penalty of evasion is now $10,000, or 10% of the value of the property. I would like that added. I think it'd be a good idea to add it number 6 at the very end. Yes, I know it's in other places, but this one, just to make sure that they read this and sign it. Because that's a substantial change.
Madam Chair, may I approach? Full disclosure, Chairman Randolph and I did have this conversation, just the two of us. This was not a meeting, it was a staff discussion, whereby she did ask this question of me. So I did prepare the MCA verbiage of it that I'd like to read into the record, if I may give you a copy.
Please.
And then I'll leave one at the podium for the public's viewing as well.
Thank you.
I even use large font for myself.
Yeah, okay. I'm the one wearing the glasses.
Madam Chair, may I read this into the record?
Please.
I know it's likely redundant. So this is the proposal to go under item number 6 under acknowledgements. This is from MCA 763207-7A. If, after initial approval, governing body can prove by documented evidence in a court of competent jurisdiction that a person has knowingly evaded this chapter through the use of a division of land pursuant to subsection 1B or 2B, the exclusive remedy available to the governing body is for the person to be subject to a civil penalty of $10,000 or an amount equal to 10% of the sales price if the division of land has been sold to a third party, whichever is greater, for each division of land payable to the governing body. And so that's verbatim from MCA.
Thank you for finding that.
Yeah.
And again, I think I would just make it under number 6.
I would agree.
That is, I think that's all I have for these, the application and the process.
Same here. That's all I have.
Anything else?
No.
Is there a motion?
For the motion, we will approve, or move to approve with the amendments, correct? As listed. We don't need to get specific on what those are, though, for the motion. Okay. I move to approve the Broadwater County exemption application with amendments.
I will second that.
It might be a good idea in the motion to say 5G8, whatever. But you don't have to read each one.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Okay. We'll try that again.
Just for Angie's record keeping in minutes.
Okay. I will revise my motion. I move to approve the Broadwater County exemption application amendments, application form with amendments as on the form and as included, as discussed, including items G and H from the previous application, and item K, as well as the addition of the MCA in the acknowledgements section. That's what I'm on motion.
I'll still second that.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to make amendments to the exemption application process. Any public comments?
Madam Chair, I have.
Oh,
Excuse
yes.
me, I have a written comment
Yes.
from, not from
Oh.
myself, from a member of the public that was emailed to me.
Perfect.
May I read that into the record?
Please.
All right. So this is an email from Bernadette Swenson. This is directly to myself, obviously Broadwater Planning. Bernadette states, and this was sent this morning, Bernadette states, Nicole, I wanted to comment on my support for the new exemption claim form and review procedure. We work with many of the surrounding counties and are familiar with each county's exemption claim forms and processes. The proposed exemption claim application contains the necessary information for review by the county and is very similar to the Madison County exemption claim form in content. This new form and procedure is helpful to us and clearly lays out the steps of the review process to our clients. Thank you and the Commissioners in your efforts in clarifying the exemption claim and review process. Bernadette Swenson of Schaber Surveying in Townsend, Montana.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I know Mr. Hahn is here today. He did provide you Commissioners with some written comment that was not read into the record at the last meeting. I did have an opportunity to go over this comment. This was not provided to me as staff, but Commissioner Swenson did share his copy with me. And I do want to state that Mr. Hahn in this application, or I'm sorry, in his comments here, two of the items, items number 1 and 2 on his list, do absolutely talk about this subdivision exemption application. We previously had presented it as a subdivision exemption form, and so his comments number 1 and 2 on his list were that it should be changed to an application. And ironically, after Commissioner Swenson and I went through and proposed this amendment, I had an opportunity to look at his comments, and we both agreed that he is correct. These other comments that are on Mr. Hahn's list here are directly in alignment with the amendments to the subdivision regulations, and since that item's not on the agenda, I will not be addressing those comments today. I'm certainly not trying to take away your ability to comment on these items. I just wanted to make sure that you specifically are aware, Mr. Hahn, in a public meeting, that thank you for your comments. I did go through them all, and I have notes on them. I just can't answer all of them today, since some of them I feel are dealing with the subdivision regulations and not the exemption process. So,
And we'll be dealing with the subdivision regulations on March 25th.
thank you.
I was just going to ask that question.
Any public comment? Anything online? No? We're going to get you a reserved chair.
Mm-hmm.
Here again. Chuck Hahn, H-A-H-N. I apologize if I didn't quite follow. I didn't have quite the same
you're-
things in front of me today that you guys were talking about.
And in responding to Nicole's comments, when I handed those questions and comments in, it did include everything, for March 25th as well, but specifically the two first paragraphs were in relation to the subdivision application. And if you give me just a second, let me look through what's here. So when you were looking through this, you added, this is this the current application, or is this the one that's being used presently?
This one?
The one that's here on the table, is this?
Madam Chair, can I respond?
Please.
So the document that I placed on the podium there, Mr. Hahn, that is the current subdivision exemption application. That is the one that is
That's
being
the one
used
that has
today.
Being used.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess one of my first comments would be that on any of these documents, that somewhere on the bottom of them should be when they were amended, the last time they were amended, if they are the current document, because there was confusion prior to, and Bernadette Swenson had commented on that there had been a previous exemption application that was being used. And so I think if those documents have that information on the bottom of them, it might remove some of that confusion. And as far as the new application, I think one of the really important questions is A, under this application that's being used now. And that's the one that asks if other than the intended disposition set forth in this application, is there any type of agreement, oral or written, regarding the creation, sale, or development of the parcel involved in the division of land? In the Koblenz exemption request that you denied at the last meeting, that was definitely a question that was answered as no, but you would have had to have inferred from that, since there was a structure already being built on the remaining parcel, that there had to have been some sort of oral or written agreement on that, because there was still liens in place in all parties' names. So I think the really important thing on these applications is to be able to look at all the surrounding circumstances, which Montana law already states you're able to do. It doesn't limit you just to specific things. It gives you a fairly wide margin in what you look at. And especially since the Attorney General's office put out the affidavit that says you can no longer call an applicant to come forward and interview them or to ask for or question them, that it's so important that you get all this documentation up front. And it's not an invasion of anybody's privacy or anything else. They're asking for permission to do something that nobody else has to do in the subdivision process. So I really think that even the former application that was being used up till recently, there was a question, see, and I don't have it here in front of me, but it was like clear down at the bottom, there were 3 other questions, and some of those questions were pertinent as well. So I guess my ask today would be, can we have time as...
It's up there. So I think Nicole put a copy of the current application that's being used up there, if that's what you're referring to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one that will be used going forward.
Madam Chair, may I respond? So no, the application form that I placed on the podium is the one that's being used today,
Yeah.
up until the moment that the commissioners would make a motion to adopt. I'm sorry, they've already made the motion. Once that motion is finalized, if you choose to finalize that motion, then at that moment in time, we would switch to this one,
Yes.
this form that we've been working on today. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does to a point, but I guess what I'm asking is, can we, as the public, have a chance to look at what you were talking about as the amendments or the changes that you're asking for today? Can we see those in writing before you make your decision on whether you
Oh, I see.
approve these or not?
I see what you're saying.
Because you're actually asking for an amendment. But don't we have 15 days? Shouldn't we have 15 days to look at those?
We're asking to include things that are already on the application. We're asking to,
Yeah.
like, as you're asking to include, like, we were talking about G, H, L, a couple others that are already currently on our application. We're just
Yeah.
asking for those to be included on the new one. So they're already there. We're just saying we're going to include them. That's the motion is saying we're going to include those in addition to what is in front of you.
Okay.
So these ones are already approved. They're already there in the current application that we're using. Sorry, Madam Chair.
No.
Yes, I understand that. I'm just asking if we can see those written out, or at least I wasn't able to make notes as you were talking as to what being included there.
So do you have there the current,
He's got, this one,
right? Yes,
this one.
yeah.
I
So on
think
page 5.
On page 5.
Yeah. G and H were what we talked about,
Okay.
putting under the new application under 3.
That would go under section 3.
And then K would go under page 2,
Yeah, page 2 under the family
under
transfers.
family transfer. Exact same
So
language.
G, H, and K.
G, H, and K would be moved to the new application without changing any words.
Okay. So you're not going to add A?
And you're asking for A, which we would have to discuss further.
Okay.
And it'll be in the same wording, correct? That's how I looked at it. We're not changing the wording at all. Correct. We just transferred over to this
So
document.
far, we have not.
Yeah.
Where do I see A? What?
It's
Page
on
5.
page 5. Page 5.
Thank you, thank you.
Is-
Okay, now we're all together.
Is there any potential to also add a question in there about the remainder parcel, what's left? That was the question that was in the former application. Not this one, but the one that was used on all family transfer exemptions up to the point of the last Koblenz.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Madam Chair, the remainder parcel is difficult because MCA has nothing about the remainder parcel, and that has come up time and time again. There's nothing in there about what they can do with the remainder parcel or what they can't do.
But that's part of the circumstances that surround it. It's in Montana law you can look at.
I think we, as a board, and I'm going to go out on a limb and speak for all of us, consider that. It comes up organically in the conversation. Oh, because you have it on the COS in front of you. So you're like, okay, here's who's doing this, here's who's doing this, and you automatically have that remainder parcel and you can see what's going on with it. As we're reviewing the COS, it tells you who's keeping which parcel and what's going on. So again, it seems a little redundant. I don't have a problem adding A. I understand what you're saying. I think again, it's an information. It's just information. It's due diligence. I don't personally see a need to add anything about the remainder parcel.
Let me again bring up the Koblenz deal. Because they testify in their family transfer affidavit that they've looked at all the documentation that goes along with this. I'm going to stop and think how I want to word this. The remainder parcel is important to be able to to look at that, or to at least ask any questions as what's going on. You guys drove out and looked at it. You saw there was a house being built. But had I not come to you guys ahead of time and brought up a lot of this information, you would not have known that. I doubt if you would have had the, not the foresight, but the thought of even having to drive out there and look. And so that's why that remainder parcel sometimes, it's called an impaired parcel, and you'll find it in when you look at law. And it just, to me, in talking to some of the other counties and what they do, is they're trying to actually reach out there a little further and look for information, because they recognize that this family transfer exemption is being abused, and it has been abused. And part of the reason you can recognize that is how many family transfer exemptions have been before you in the past 2 years as compared to prior to it. Ravalli County has had 2 subdivision requests and 50 family transfer exemption requests in the last couple of years. And those family transfer exemption requests, had they been all approved, would have been 200 lots. So those are all things to really consider. I carried on enough.
No, you're.
Since nobody, well, I'll leave them here until we find out.
I have copies right here if you want to take them.
Okay, I'll leave these now.
Yeah, absolutely, you can take these.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes.
question for Director Brown.
You're welcome.
Director Brown, why was that taken off, out of curiosity? I'm assuming, again, hate to assume, why that language was taken off the affidavit that we were using about the remainder parcel. It was on the older affidavit.
Madam Chair, can I respond?
Please.
If you remember, sorry.
No, and I apologize. I do not recall. I would have to see the language to know exactly how it was written. And not having that older version of the subdivision exemption application in front of me, I don't feel comfortable answering that question because I don't have an opportunity to look at it and maybe either think about it or go back through my notes. So I apologize. I don't have an answer for you.
It's okay. I was just curious. My thought hasn't changed on it. I appreciate Chuck's concerns. I understand what he's saying. I would hate, don't need to digress into the conversation, but whether the family transfers are being abused or not would depend on your perspective. And there was an intention there by the legislature to make it easier for kids to come home because the price of land has gotten ridiculous. So we could go back and forth on that a lot. Not for us to debate. It is what it is in MCA, so we have to work around the best way we can and get the information we need. Again, I haven't really changed my opinion on that.
I haven't either. As far as the supplemental question A, the only one it really applies to would be family transfers, and I feel like it is answered within the Attorney General affidavit. So I don't see a necessity to include it. All the rest of them, I mean, family transfers are the only ones that have any restrictions on whether or not you can or cannot sell, and it's actually not that's a regulation that the county has in place. It differs county by county. Some counties have 2 years, some counties have 1 year, some counties don't have any restriction. You can sell it the next day. So our resolution, whenever it was, quite a few years ago, was to hold it for 2 years. I feel like that's expressed well. They know they can't sell it, and that if they do sell it, that gives us the opportunity to go without the proper channels, because there are some exemptions or exclusions for hardship situations or whatever. But if they don't follow the process, then that gives us that language that we're including on there to go after them and say they did in fact evade. So that would be my opinion on that.
The only thing I would add to that is if an applicant were to lie on the affidavit, they're going to lie here as well.
And then
Is
that
that-
falls into the documented evidence of how we can prosecute.
Correct.
I don't see any harm in adding a, what is under 5A now? I don't want to make this more difficult or more, the idea was to condense it as much as possible. What would be the opposition to not including it?
I don't care either way. I think we've minimized, we've taken out some of the really obvious, unnecessary stuff. I can go either way with A being in there. Sorry, that's maddeningly unhelpful.
No. I think it should be, I'm not sure where to put it.
Madam Chair,
Please.
can I suggest that if you do choose to include 5A from the existing subdivision exemption application form on page 5, again, item number 5A, add it to the proposed subdivision exemption application, that it would go under item number 4, family transfer specifically, because this really, it is specific to family transfers.
So the top of page 2.
The top of page 2. So under family transfers, we'd be adding
Yeah.
5A and 5K from the existing subdivision exemption application. But that's simply my recommendation.
No, and again, I don't see any harm in adding it. It makes people just think and be a little more educated on exactly what they're doing. So 5A, my request would be to put 5A and K in the family transfer at top of page 2. G and H would go under number 3 on page 1. Is that?
Yep, that's correct.
So we can amend the motion
Try the
and
motion
do
again?
that,
Okay.
or not. Currently, the motion is to move G and H to number 3 and K to the top of number 2 on page 2.
I'll amend it. Commissioner Swenson, did you have any other thoughts on them?
I don't see the point. I'm not trying to respectfully disagree, because even if they did yes or no to that question, we don't have the authority to deny it based on a yes or no to that question.
But
'Cause
does
whether or
it,
not
does
they
it hurt,
talked
does it
about
hurt
it-
to have it? Does it hurt to have it?
I guess
there?
that's my point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we could put on there that doesn't hurt to have it.
Right. I think we've
Well,
cut out a lot of
this is the one
the
we're
stuff,
talking about,
but
yeah. So,
It's,
and believe me, I don't want this form any longer, make it any more
no, you guys have done a good job. You've cut it down considerably.
considerably, and it's much more cleaner and easy and
Yeah, it is.
user-friendly.
Agreed.
User-friendly,
Madam Chair, can I make one more comment?
you may.
I agree with what Jesse said as far as number A there. But the thing that you're doing with number A is if they answer yes or no. If they answer yes, let's take the Colbrook's one for example again. They answered yes to that, then they're being honest and you'd probably deny it. If they answered no, then the law says that after you approve, if you can determine by documented evidence, then you have a case. So that's why it needs to be there.
That's a fair
Thank you.
point. Thank you, Chuck.
I don't I mean, nobody's out to get anybody. I think we've really shifted in our thought process with family transfers. We want to do due diligence. We want to have good documentation. We appreciate residents bringing things to our attention. We're not going to know everything there is to know. Having a few of these items in the application, it's kind of, I hate to say a fail-safe, but it's more of an additional way for us to catch it. If I don't see it in the affidavit, yeah, then I'm going to see it here. That would be my one argument for putting it in.
Okay, where are we at? Did you revise your motion or not?
No. I'm going to revise the motion.
Got lost there.
All right, let's try again. Okay, I move to approve the Broadwater County exemption application with amendments as discussed, specifically moving items A and K from the previous application to number 4, and items G and H to number 3 on the new application.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you also make a statement about the MCA adding?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, thank you. I'm glad
to
you
interrupt,
remembered it.
but
That was
Okay,
very important.
and because I'm not going to say it all over again, and we are going to add MCA 76-3-2077A under number 6 on the new application.
I will second that.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We got through it.
thank you, Commissioners.
And March 25th, we will discuss the regs. And I just want to thank Chuck Hahn for writing out your thoughts. People come in here and talk, and then it's hard. Our notes aren't always what they want to get across to us. So it was very helpful.
And Bernadette as well for
And
sending your
Bernadette,
comments.
yes, yeah. I don't even know where my agenda is.
Okay.
Last thing on the agenda, or almost last thing, is the discussion decision time clock plus 60-month contract renewal. Time clock plus is a fairly new, we've used it for a couple of years now, time clock for employees to check in and out, keeps track of their vacation, sick time. It was not working wonderfully the first year, and there's still some kinks in it, but we have found it to be very valuable. They can use their phones to do it, they can use their laptops, the computers. This is a 60-month contract. First year is $2,976.60. Next year's the same. Year 3 is the same. Year 4 is $3,006.36. And the 5th year is $3,036.44. We checked with Debbie Kelly and Michelle Beebe, because when we first started this was a big deep dive for them. It was completely new from what they've done. I don't know, several months ago I checked with them. They like it now. So that came full circle. And so we have this contract to look at. Any questions?
I didn't have
Comments?
any.
It works. I having used several different having used several different systems like this at the hospital, different places, it is every bit as good as any of the other ones I've used. There's always a little bit of manual checking that goes on. It does allow employees to clock in and out accurately, which is good, and to take time off accurately, submit requests for that. So there's more functionality than just an old school time card that you had in Black Mountain.
And I say, if there's any employees or department heads listening, and you do have error concerns or questions, talk to one of us. It definitely was a tough start, but, and it's a software program, so of course there's going to be bugs. So it is much better.
I just had a thought as we're talking about this. When do we have to have this?
Like now.
Like now? Okay.
Why?
Just curious. Just curious.
Yeah. Actually, the contract's start date is February 2nd, so we should have signed this by then, but
Okay.
we were gone or whatever. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
And that is one thing Bill Rocky this morning when I was talking to him. He said, "You're going to get that signed, right?" I'm like, "I don't know, but it's on the agenda." Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the Time Clock Plus LLC 60-month contract renewal for the total amount of $14,972.60, which is spread out as stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any public comment? Any questions? There's a motion and a second to approve Time Clock Plus for 60 months for a total of $14,972.60. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. And before we, as we were initially reviewing Time Clock Plus, there were some programs that were much more expensive. So we will get that signed. And we just have 3 claims, or 4. The first set of claims is $42,494.71. The next set is for $48,033.09. Oh, maybe we only have 2. Just 2.
Just two?
Is there a motion?
I move to approve claims for the amount stated.
I will second that.
Any public comment? Is there any public comment?
No.
All those in favor of approving the claims in said amount signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I believe, does anybody have anything else? Okay, we
I do
will
not.
adjourn at noon, straight up.
Organize all my papers.